good evening. Welcome to Cardiff City TV.
Wilson, a little bit of space for Harry Wilson. Strikes it, goal! Oh, what a goal! Morrison, goal!
So it's Brentford for Cardiff City this evening in what is our penultimate away game of the season. And it's the first time the Bluebirds will take on the Bees at their new home ground, Brentford Community Stadium, which opened its doors back in August 2020, albeit not to that many people, but it has served them well so far this season as they're currently sitting in 4th position in the league and very much in contention for a spot in the playoffs. Thanks for joining us on Cardiff City Matchday Live this evening. I'm Amy James and this is John Donovan and we're here to talk you through to kick-off at 6 p.m. John, Brentford have pretty much got all the pressure on them this evening. Now, if you are a very strong optimist in a Bluebirds supporter, I mean, there's a very slight mathematical chance that the Bluebirds are also still in contention. But given how we have conceded victories in the last 2 games with such late goals, how frustrating must it be for City supporters at this point after what's been such an up and down season?
You're right, Amy. I think there's probably more of a chance of me waking up one day less ginger and more good looking than Cardiff making the playoffs right now. And it is frustrating, and this is something that Ash and myself have touched upon. The run-in, or certainly the last 3 games, and there's of course no easy games in the Championship, but the last 3 games, particularly for Cardiff City, eminently winnable games, and it was a question of getting to those 3 games still with something to play for. It doesn't look like we will, which is frustrating, and that's no disrespect to Mick McCarthy or the team. They've done a great job, particularly Mick McCarthy and Terry Connor since coming in, steadying the ship. That massively impressive run that got us in playoff contention, but probably a step too far this season. It probably does need, if you're being realistic about it, that off-season building for Mick McCarthy to get the building blocks in place that he exactly wants. So we're not experimenting tonight, and I think that's probably sensible, because Brentford, if you were just throwing players in and what have you, Brentford are the sort of team that could open you up. So I can understand why Mick McCarthy isn't experimenting tonight. But you're absolutely right, Brentford, you know, they really wanted to push for automatic promotion. It doesn't look like they will get there. They've drawn 5 of their last 6 matches. They've fallen away off Watford a little bit. So you're absolutely right, Amy. The pressure is more on them tonight.
And no doubt they'll come out all guns blazing this evening, as they probably will for the rest of the season. They're just not going to want to repeat what happened to them last season against Fulham, are they?
They're not. But again, it can. Is there a mental block there for Brentford now of getting over the line? They're a club that we've all admired for a number of years now, the way they recruit and the way they don't get into financial difficulties, and they've built that beautiful new stadium that we see behind us. So they're a club that we all admire, but there's doing the things that people admire you for, and then there's finally getting over the line. And Thomas Frank hasn't been able to do that yet. And I thought they might have got automatic promotion this season. They still might, but I think Watford will probably take that. And then the playoffs is a lottery, and they failed there last year. So for them, it's not just about talent on the pitch. A lot of it's going to be what goes on between the ears as well. It's going to be sort of psychological. But they're a very, very talented team, and it's going to be a hard game for Cardiff City tonight.
Indeed, and talking about talent on the pitch, let's take a look at team news this evening, starting with an unchanged Bluebirds side. In goals, Alex Smithies, playing at right wing-back, Tom Sang at left wing-back, Perry NG, Curtis Nelson at right centre-half, with Kieran Brown at left centre-half, and Aidan Flint as captain once again this evening. Will Vokes and Marlon Pack as 2 sitting midfielders there, with Joe Ralls and Harry Wilson playing just in front of them, and of course Kiefer Moore up front. Moving on to the bench then for City, in goals, Dylan Phillips, obviously, Jordan Osei-Tutu, Leandro Bacuna, Josh Murphy, Johnny Williams, Max Waters, Shea Ojo, Mark Harris, and Junior Hoylett. John, if you'd please do the honours for our opposition tonight.
Yeah, certainly, Amy. For Brentford, it's an interesting one because late in the season and trying to push to get those results needed, they have changed their formation. It seems they're going with a 3-1-4-2 in recent weeks. They scored 5 goals against Preston, but drew 0-0 on the weekend against Millwall. But they're unchanged as well. So they're going to line up with David Raya in goal, 3 centre-halves then of Ethan Pinnock, Christian Norgard and Pontus Jansson, a holding midfielder which will be Vitaly Janalt, a midfield 4 then of Matthias Jensen on the left, Tariq Fosu and Brian Mbeumo in the middle. Expect Mbeumo to push forward and almost make a front 3 with Mads Roslev on the right, and then up top Marcus Voss, who's had a decent season, but he's together with the main man, the guy who most of the pressure is on for Brentford. If they win, it's usually this man who scores the goals, and that's Ivan Toney, and he's the man that Cardiff City will need to keep a watchful eye on tonight.
And in your opinion, any surprises there this evening, John?
Only the fact that maybe Thomas Frank getting a little bit desperate late in the season has changed what was quite a settled formation for Brentford with the 3 up top, for 2.5 seasons. So the fact that he has changed late in the season obviously means that he's feeling the pressure a little bit, but the players on the pitch for them are still exceptionally talented, and they're going to have a lot of the ball tonight, Amy. So Cardiff, it's going to be a similar pattern, men behind the ball as it was against Reading, and try and play on the break, and if they do get the lead, try and hold on to it this time.
Okay, right, so there are the lineups for both sides this evening. We're going to hear from the gaffer next, who quite understandably was quite frustrated following Friday's result.
I'm raging, that's how I'm feeling, because I'm sick of conceding goals on half-time, full-time today. And I said on Saturday, Blackburn, with their performance second half, they deserved it. But I'm not bothered about people deserving it. We should not let them off the hook, and we did. And we've done it today. We've been terrific. They've blocked stuff. They've defended well. We've caught them on the break. We could have scored a couple more there then in the second half. And, I don't know what it is. Just let our guard down again. And I'm raging, as I said. So let me tell you, we should be 4 points better off, and I'm brassed off that we're not, because despite I said that Blackburn deserved it, we should have beaten them when we 2-1 up. We should have won that game tonight. We should be 4 points better off. So wherever we end up, I'm going to be annoyed that we're not 4 points better off. Who knows where we'll end up? We'll just keep plugging away and see where it ends. I'm more concerned. Well, when we get to 90 minutes, I'm concerned about the result, but I'm concerned about performances, and we've played well today. That's a proper performance and a real aggressive performance that deserved to have won it in the end by how we stuck with it. So no, there's no disasters. It's been a good couple of months, but we're not resting on our laurels. We want to finish as high as we can, and so we'll do our best in the next 4 games. We've a duty of care to ourselves, to the club, to the fans, to everybody that is associated with Cardiff. And we want to make sure that we finish on a high, that then hopefully the fans can come back next season, and they're looking forward to seeing us, and we're looking forward to seeing them.
And that there was the gaffer speaking. Now, we should be joined once again by Ashley James in West London. Ash, thanks for joining us.
Hi, both.
Mick there stressing the importance of performance levels to him. He's not the sort of manager to allow his players to take their feet off the gas. So with little to play for this evening, I mean, can we still expect a performance from the boys, if for nothing else, but to secure their spot amongst his squad for next term?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably why you haven't seen too many changes in the starting, or no changes in the starting 11, but none of the experimentation that we perhaps expected. Look, he's spoken about it, isn't he? That there are contracts to play for in some regards. There's an opportunity to impress ahead of next season in some regards, and also he's spoken about the integrity of the league. And this is a massive game for Brentford this evening. the vague opportunity for second spot is still there for them, but certainly, the to and fro in the positions, third, fourth, fifth, sixth for the playoff spots is there. So I think it is important that Cardiff played their best available team to them this evening, not least because, quality-wise, this Brentford team are maybe even better than Watford. I think Watford are going to get promoted instead of them because of consistency, not because of necessarily quality. I think apart from Norwich, Brentford are the best team in the division. They score goals at a scary rate at times. Yes, they've struggled for form of late, 1 win in 6. But if you look at 6 of their last 8 wins, they've scored 3 goals or more doing so. And, they spanked Preston 5-0 a couple of weeks ago, and they put 7 past Wickham not too long ago as well. So if Cardiff aren't completely at the races at the start of the game this evening, then it could be a very long game indeed.
Ash, just going back to Friday night, and Mick McCarthy touched upon it there, and to Amy's point, with the last-minute equaliser, we all probably felt like it was a bit of a defeat, particularly as that was the second game in a row it had happened. But in the cold light of day, you look back on Friday, I tend to agree with Mick McCarthy. I thought it was a good away performance. Yes, we didn't have a lot of the ball, but we were solid in shape, and we created some chances. What were your takeaways from Friday night?
Yeah, I'd echo those sentiments. I think it was a very solid, bordering on good away performance in the Championship against very tough opposition. I thought we limited a very good forward line to very few chances, and I thought the difference coming out of half time is that Reading looked like a team who'd had a rocket put up them, and you saw the likes of Ijario and Elise, for instance, having to drop deep and get on the ball a lot deeper in the pitch and try and get on the half turn and get forward from deeper areas because they were ostracised and not in the game in the first half. And a lot of credit goes to the Cardiff midfield unit for doing that. Was it a free-flowing football performance? No, it wasn't. But I've seen some frustrated Cardiff fans saying that they didn't think there was a lot of quality in the performance. But I think some fans have short memories. Even the 2 years that we've got promoted out of this division in the not too distant past, you don't blow teams away from home in this division. You tend to grind out results away from home, and really Cardiff should have ground out all 3 points on Friday.
So Ash, I want to put on camera the conversation you and I continually have on WhatsApp, and there's a few stages to this. First of all, we were champion for about 18 months to go to 3 at the back, and that's been quite successful. I said to you on your way home on Friday night, I felt 4 at the back and having that additional player behind Kiefer Moore might have been useful. But then the Joe Rules move, it was almost a double-edged sword. He brought a lot of energy in there, and he dropped in when needed to help the midfield. But would it make more sense just to play as a midfield 3?
Yeah, I think it would. But, as our favourite quote, who are we to criticise, But I do think on paper it makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, games and training isn't done on paper. And we keep coming back to the same thing, don't we, John, is that this squad haven't had a great deal of time together on the training pitch in Mick McCarthy's time in charge. So he's playing in a shape that he feels comfortable with this squad at the moment. Does he feel comfortable changing that shape even now late in the season? I'd argue no, he doesn't at the moment. Will that change going into the last 3 games of the season, where not too long ago we were thinking, my God, you couldn't cherry pick 3 better games if you're still win a playoff run. That quickly turned, and you were looking even as recently as last week going, you know what, for the integrity of the league, we want to experiment, but really Cardiff could have a massive say on the relegation fight. So perhaps we won't be able to experiment in these last 3 games. And even that picture has changed now. Wickham could be relegated as early as this evening. Birmingham look already safe. And Rotherham could be down by the final game of the season. So again, it does give you a chance, I think, to experiment in those last 3 games. And I think looking at a plan B or a potential plan A going ahead next season with a 4 at the back shape, I think needs to be looked at. We all know the problem with that. You need you need wingers, and B, you need wingers who are relatively consistent. And Cardiff haven't shown a capability for any of those in the last 18 months or so.
Yeah, there's a few things on the wish list. I know Amy wants to throw the grenade in with the last question in a moment about the issue of the day. So just quickly on Brentford, I echo you. I think they are the second best team in the division. I think they've been superb for a number of years. but I also think they're a bit fragile after their experience of last season. And Thomas Frank, he seems to be a manager, in my eyes, that does feel the pressure of maybe the clutch time of the season. What's your view on them? Is it automatic promotion or bust? Do you fancy them in the playoffs?
Yeah, I do, purely because of their quality. I think that there's a slight misnomer that we think of them as having blown the playoffs a couple of years now. It was only last year. They didn't make the playoffs the year before that. But this is now, or this would be, whatever way you look at it, a 7th top 11 finish in the Championship in a row for them. And that is, you're looking at Cardiff, at the end of the Dave Jones era and the management reign that came after that, as being one of those only clubs, and maybe Preston before us, who were able to put together that level of concerted run. These windows tend to close sooner or later. And if you're a team like Brentford, who we know are continually going to have to sell quality in order to reinvest, and that's something they've done remarkably well, then that's going to catch up on you sooner or later. Look, they did brilliantly to go and get Ivan Toney, a guaranteed goal scorer from League One, and backed him to make the step up. He's done that because they sold Ollie Watkins and Saeed Benrahma last summer. Did I think that would have an impact on them being a top 2? Yes, I did. And I think that has held them back a little. And I do think, they might have to sell again. Look, they're doing this evening. I heard you talking about the change in formation. A lot of that is because they're doing this without their 2 starting fullbacks this evening. And, they might have to do it without the 2 starting fullbacks come next season, because I think if you're looking at the current squad, who are going to get cherry-picked by better teams other than Tony, it's probably them.
Right, Ash, just before you leave us, just to take a look at football and the bigger picture in general. I mean, you've mentioned the integrity of the league and I guess the integrity of football, which brings us to, like John said, news of the day, which is around the current plans to establish the breakaway European Super League. Ahead of this weekend's Carabao Cup final, Brentford showed a bit of tongue-in-cheek on social media, being the only one of the semi-finalists outside of those big 6 teams. So I guess it's good that they can show a bit of a sense of humour, but it's largely acknowledged that the wider opinion is very negative towards these plans. So I was just wondering, Ash, and yourself, John, what are your thoughts on the repercussions this could have to the Championship and more specifically Cardiff City?
The Championship, Amy, quite truthfully, is I don't know. The flippant answer I'd like to give is, looking at Cardiff's aspirations, there might be 6 more spots in the Premier League up for grabs. You never know, but we just don't know. There's going to be years, you fear, of legal wranglings around this, and it's very difficult to project anything. On a Championship level, will there be repercussions? And I'm thinking from a business sense, that you imagine that, if those 6 teams were to walk away or to be ousted from the Premier League, that would have repercussions on the TV revenue that the Premier League and the current TV package has been signed at the Premier League level. Does that have a trickle-down effect onto the Championship? Who knows? Do we get a trickle-down effect in terms of support? Because we know we live in a big catchment area in Cardiff and the surrounding areas, and we know that because we were a lower league team for so many years at the early mid-90s, we lost a lot of opportunities to lure in fans, and we lost a lot of fans to big Premier League teams in that regard. So do we get the opportunity maybe here to lure some fans back who have been left with a rather nasty taste in their mouth by their actions of their club in the last couple of years? And, I'm fully aware that I speak to that regard, from a position that, far from perfect in our own right in recent seasons.
Okay, Ash, that's actually all we've got time for. You didn't let John get a word in edgeways
I'll
there.
have my say on Saturday, don't worry.
Thanks for joining us nonetheless, Ash. And now we shall head over to a look back at our top 5 goals against tonight's opponents, Brentford.
Top 5 in association with the Big Yellow Self-Storage Company.
That's played forward. Soho will chase. And has he got away from field? Soho has scored for Cardiff! It's a brilliant finish from Kenneth Soho, and he celebrates in front of the City fans away behind that goal. He's been threatening her all afternoon, And Kenneth Soho has silenced this Griffin Park crowd. Everybody around us is streaming out of here. Cardiff are celebrating.
Short, in fact. Pack wise, and it's a goal! The Bluebirds are back in the game, and it's nothing more than their press of the last 3 or 4 minutes has deserved. Well, they fooled everybody there. I think everybody in the whole of Griffin Park, everybody in the whole of Cardiff thought Lee Coblin was going to hit that.
Here's Makeda. As he saw his own half, looks to free Ravel. Wonderful ball by Makeda. Ravel's running against Button, who's out of his goal. Ravel chips and scores! Cardiff are ahead. It's another shocking error by Button, and Ravel has scored a superb goal for Cardiff City, and it's going wild behind that goal.
Well, for a man who's been starved of playing time and starved of goals, that's a superb finish. Didn't waver at all, did he?
Folks goes for goal. What an effort! What a goal! Will Volks! He got goal of the season last year. He may well just have got the gong for this year too.
I think he's been watching clips of Aaron Gunnison over Christmas. A spectacular distant goal, echoing what the former Cardiff City player achieved in midweek, playing in the Middle East. It's a wonderful spot from Rolls. Great defensive work initially to break down the move. And then a lovely 1-2 between Volks and Glatzel. And I must admit, I thought Volks was looking cross-field.
He knew it was in.
And he knew it was there. I hadn't seen the goalkeeper off his line. Thankfully, Will Volks had. And it's a perfect effort from inside his own half.
To purchase a pass for live matchday coverage on Cardiff City TV, visit the official Cardiff City FC website. Once logged into your Bluebirds club account, navigate to Club TV and select Buy Packages. Select the pass you wish to purchase and click Buy Now. Next, fill in your payment details and click Submit Payment. Once your purchase has been successful, you will see this message. You can also check your purchase by clicking the Manage Your Subscriptions button. You now have instant access to live matchday coverage. Visit Club TV and select Live.
Moore's free in the box, 1-0!
Live streams begin 1 hour before kickoff, and recommended desktop browsers are Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. You can also watch or listen on the go via the official Cardiff City app. For technical support, email Cardiff TV support at streamamg.com.
80 years might sound like a pretty long time, but if you're an idea, a dream, a belief, then 80 years is just the beginning.
And that's it from us here at Matchday Live. If you're currently watching with us on our YouTube channel, don't forget to jump over to Cardiff City TV, where you can listen with a live commentary. Otherwise, if you have a match pass, you can watch the action with us too. That's it from us this evening. We'll leave you with Mark Denham and Ashley James in West London.
Good evening, welcome to Cardiff City TV.
Wilson, a little bit of space for Harry Wilson, strikes a goal, oh, what a goal, Morrison, goal!
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, John. Welcome to West London, as you say, this new home of Brentford Football Club. Ash and I were walking around the old Griffin Park site earlier, looking for the pub on every corner and wondering where everybody was. But we managed to get here just in time, and it's a lovely new place, isn't it, Ash? You've done a really good job here.
It is. It's a football ground that befits the growth we've seen from this football club in recent years. I was talking to Amy and John before it, and this is whatever the outcome for Brentford heading into these last few weeks of the season. This is going to be a 7th consecutive top 11 finish in the Championship. And I was trying to think of the last time that we saw that level of consistency from a Championship club without being able to quite make it up to the next level. And the answer probably lies with ourselves in Cardiff City in those latter days of the Dave Jones era and the management reign that came after.
If Barnsley were to lose every game this season in the last 4 and Cardiff were to win every 4 and Reading didn't jump ahead of us, it's still mathematically possible to sneak into 6th place. I am paid to be optimistic, of course. It's very, very unlikely that will happen, but as things stand, there is still a season in place here at Brentford this evening, but of course the hosts are themselves going for very lofty ambitions, aren't they? This is going to be a tough test.
They are. I still think Norwich aside, they're probably the most talented team in the division. The fact they're going to miss out on automatic promotion is going to be more down to lack of consistency than it is down to quality. That's for certain. I think Watford have just shown a resilience that Brentford haven't been able to in their ability to overcome injuries as well. And Brentford have had injuries; they've still got injuries. They by far not at full strength at the moment, but they do have an awful lot of quality as well. And the strange thing in recent weeks has been the rather stumbling nature. So they've only won one of the last 6 games, and that was against a rather beleaguered Preston team in their own result. They've changed shape, as we're about to see, coming into not just this game but the last 3 games to try and overcompensate that. And I think the nerves are getting to them as it did towards the end of last season.
Well, they're in danger of becoming the side that Derby were for spells over the past 10-12 years. Cardiff City were before that promotion in 2013, of being that side that there or thereabouts never quite makes it.
Yeah, they are. They fell away from playoff contention 2 years ago. They fell away from automatic contention last year and then lost the final in rather underwhelming fashion. They didn't really show up against their near rivals Fulham, and they've fallen away from automatic contention this season. And actually, it's not even them that made the best fist of chasing Watford. It was probably Swansea that put the greater pressure on Watford in the end, and that will be a big disappointment. I think there are mitigating circumstances. I think every club has an excuse for mitigating circumstances this year, but certainly I think Brentford do have more mitigating circumstances this year than they did last, for instance.
I do feel that if it's not this season, it is going to come soon. As Nash said earlier on, this is a club that is set up for the Premier League now. They've done it the right way, and they will be a Premier League team sooner rather than later, you feel. Cardiff City will probably miss out on the opportunity this year, but are building something for the future. That man Tom Sang retains his place in the side, the youngster Cardiff City, unchanged in the starting 11 from the side that drew with Reading on Friday night. Only one change on the bench, Leandro Bacuna back in after illness, Ruben Colwell dropping out of the matchday squad. Brentford yet to take to the field. Cardiff City out a good couple of minutes before their hosts. Here come the Bees, though.
Yeah, and I think there might be a few sides, a few puff cheeks at home if you're watching the game. The fact that Cardiff have gone unchanged again, and the youngster that people want to see in Colwell isn't on the bench. But this isn't a game for experimentation. This is for the integrity of the league, which Mick McCarthy has spoken about a number of times ahead of this game. Brentford are still chasing that second spot. It wouldn't be right to throw in a load of youngsters and really change things up and not play to your full strength. And also, you could really take a shellacking if you get things wrong in the first 15 minutes of a game against a team this quality. They are struggling for wins. For 6 of their last 8 wins, they've scored 3 goals or more. They scored 7 against Wickham not too long ago. They scored 5 2 weeks ago against Preston. They do really have quality about them.
That's the way Brentford's likely to shape up this evening. A settled back 3, really. They've been at the club a couple of years. Changes ahead of them, of course. They famously had the the BMW front three that went, but to their credit, they replaced well Ivan Toney being the key man in that front three these days. That's the City lineup, as we say, unchanged from the side that started against Reading.
Yeah, you can never guarantee goals at the Championship level, but if you're paying top dollar for a player that's consistently scored goals the level below, then you give yourself a good chance, don't you? And Ivan Toney has been magnificent this season. I don't think that some of the players around him, certainly Brian Mbuemo has hit the same heights as he did since his two protégés left in Watkins and Ben Rama in the summer. And they've had problems. Look, a large part of the reason that they're playing three at the back at the moment is they're playing without their two fullbacks, and you know, Dahl, the two players of the quality of Dalsgaard and Rico Henry would be a huge loss for anyone. And even though they're not in the team and haven't been in the team for a number of weeks because of injury, I do think, along with Toney, if players are going to leave Brentford again this summer, those two fullbacks are the most likely to follow him out the door, probably.
Thomas Frank, who gave Mick McCarthy a expensive bottle of wine before the game. I think, I would imagine, I don't know this, but I would imagine as a mark of respect for Mick's 1,000 games, which he marked a few weeks back. We understand ahead of, not 100% on this, but we understand ahead of kick-off that Brentford are opting not to take a knee ahead of this kick-off.